Before we start, allow me to say a word of thanks to each of you that attend to this seminar. This seminar is organized by the Center of African Research and Development Study at the USJ. The main goal or objective to organize this public seminar is to celebrate what we call Africa Day. But in fact, what is Africa Day? Africa Day is a day that is celebrated worldwide. It's not only in Macau we are celebrating it, but it's celebrated worldwide. Each 25th May, there are conferences, there are public seminars that are organized to discuss on emerging issues in Africa. That's why today we are also trying to celebrate this. But there is something that you must know, something that motivates this Africa Day worldwide is the establishment of what we call African Union. African Union was established in 25th May 1963 by African country that freshly got their independence after 1960. So the idea was to establish an international organization at continental level which will deal with the daily issue of African country. So, but since 1963 till 2012, you may agree with me that African countries has encountered ups and downs, meaning that from economic perspective, there have been a lot of economic progress. Some country has increased their GDP, has installed a good economic policy and welfare for the citizen, while some others are still sinking in the poverty, where still some countries are living with less than $2 a day. But at political level, we have also many changes. Some country has reached a great level of political maturity by setting a basic principle of democracy, by setting a basic principle of governance, and so on and so forth. But on the other hand, there are some countries that are still living with autocratic regime. And those autocratic regimes can be found from sub-Saharan Africa, but also from the northern part of Africa. And the best way often to remove those autocratic regimes were either to use international pressure through development aid or through military intervention, or there was also internal movement that often goes through military coup or public, what we call people power revolution. The people power revolution is basically what we are going to discuss later on, because it shows that the citizen can also decide to change the political landscape, okay? So this started around 2000, where most of African countries decided, the citizens decided to fight against the autocratic regime. It happened in Zimbabwe in 2002, also in 2007 it happened in Guinea-Conakry, and in 2007. In 2010, so we saw from the northern part, in Tunisia, Egypt, Libya, what we call Arab Spring or Arab Uprising. This is why we are here today. We are going to discuss about this topic. We are going to reflect what's happened and what are the repercussions of this Arab Spring or Arab Uprising. Allow me to introduce our speaker, João Pereira, that's going to talk today about this topic. But before we talk, I know some of you know already João Pereira, some of you not. João Pereira is a lecturer at USJ. He teaches basically international relations students, as you could notice from international relations students, they're uploading their professor. João Pereira has a great interest on issues such as terrorism. So he's actually researching on the effectiveness of suicide terrorism, which is a big, great topic. And he also is interested on what we call geostrategy, and the latest one is international relation theory. So basically this is his area for interest. So today he's going to discuss with us what he thinks about Arab Spring. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Professor Diakite, for this kind invitation. Thank you for being present. Over the last 2 days, Egyptians cast their ballots in the first free presidential elections in that history. Just over 1 year from the beginning of the Arab Spring, this election, hopefully, symbolizes the emergence and victory of democracy in a region that, apart from the short and troubled democratic periods in Lebanon and the recent volatile experience of Iraq and Palestine, has never known regimes other than dictatorships. Although this election is undoubtedly a good sign, the overall situation in the Arab world is too complex to believe that we are seeing an ongoing and unstoppable fourth wave of democratization. The Arab Spring has been, of course, an event of great significance that will be debated for decades to come. It raised a lot of questions for social scientists about its magnitude, as well as the singular way it initiated and propagated. The Arab uprising originated in the most unexpected of ways, with the self-immolation of a Tunisian street vendor. One question that remains is why, after so many years of oppression, did this vendor take such extreme action? And how did this action inspire and unleash such a tremendous uprising that continues to affect both countries and citizens? Why now? What can we expect the future to bring? And what are the forces at play in a region filled with hydrocarbons? One region that is crucial to world trade and international economy. I'm not an expert on the Arab world, primarily because no one can truly be an expert about a country without speaking the native language. However, I wanted to participate in this debate as an attentive observer and share with you some ideas about this subject that you can, of course, disagree. I will start with the words about the causes of the Arab Spring, and then I will try to devise some kind of pattern in the way these uprisings have evolved. Finally, I will offer an analysis about the forces at play, domestic as well as international. Contrary to the manifestations we are used to seeing in the Arab world, such as blaming Israel, blaming the USA and the West for all the ills of the world, in this case, manifestations had a character eminently domestic. We cannot point to just one cause responsible for the Arab Spring. Instead, we need to observe the intertwined causes, including the underlying set of political, economic, and social grievances similar across the region. As Suzanne Maloney from the Brookings Institution declared, the only real growth industry in the Middle East has been population. Rising life expectancy, declining infant mortality, and some of the highest birth rates on the planet have contributed to a disproportionately young population across the Arab world. About 2/3 of the population of the region is under the age of 30. As the Human Arab Report of 2010 pointed out, youth age from 15 to 24 make up 30% of the region's working age population, and 1/4 of them are unemployed. Ongoing sources of domestic unrest include unemployment, the stagnation of the economy. As of 2003, the entire region exported fewer manufactured goods than the economy of Philippines. Unequal wealth distribution, corruption, poor educational systems, according to the Arab Human Development Report of 2002, the region as a whole has translated approximately the same number of books into Arabic since the 9th century as Spain does into Spanish in any given year. And last but not least, aspirations to political freedom had a key role in the events of the last year. These revolts in the Arab world have produced different outcomes. In some countries, a civil war broke out, such as Libya, Syria, or Yemen. In others, such as Egypt or Tunisia, the dictators gave up power. And in the rest of the countries, with greater or less turbulence, dictators have thus far been able to maintain power. What similarities and differences can we observe in these different outcomes? To begin with, and I think this is the first pattern, no monarchy has been overthrown thus far. It seems that monarchies enjoy more legitimacy than do the republics in the Arab world. There is popular affection for the monarchs, and long-standing relationships exist between the ruling family and the people. Kuwait has been ruled for more than 250 years by the same family. The Al Khalifa family has ruled Bahrain for over 200 years. The alliance between the Saudi royal family and the Sunni Wahhabi clerical establishment dates back to 1744. These monarchies reacted to the events by trying to accommodate the citizens, promising political reforms and giving amenities to the population.